Comic Book Nation, I am your host, Chris Killian, and thanks for joining us with this exclusive interview here on Comicbook.com. We are hyping the DVD and Blu-ray release of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. And to celebrate, we have a very special guest who I'm crazy excited to talk to. He is a veteran actor who has appeared in dozens of films and television shows, but most recently, he has taken up the razor-sharp mantle of the Shredder. He is Brian T. Brian, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Chris, dude, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're just going to jump right into the questions. When you found out you were cast in the role of Oroku Saki, how did you prepare for the role? Like, for example, did you have to do any martial arts training, or more importantly, did you dine on turtle soup?
Exactly. A little bit of both. You know, what's interesting, growing up as a kid, I was a huge Turtles fan, especially when the live-action movie came out. And, you know, I used to be him for Halloween. I was, like, literally dressed up as Shredder and used, like, cardboard and aluminum foil to make, you know, his razor-sharp, you know, claws and all of that stuff. So when I got the part, it was one of those childhood dream come trues. And knowing kind of the lore of Shredder, and especially loving the Turtles growing up, you know, those are pretty good shoes to fill. So I kind of, you know, did my best research and, you know, all the comic books and, you know, try to watch as many generations of cartoons as I can and really kind of get a vibe and a feel of what the sense of Shredder needed to be. Because, you know, the Turtles are the Turtles, but Shredder himself has his own kind of personality and kind of has to fit that mold to be the baddest of bad guys, yet within that still tone of what Turtles is all about.
Right. I think you knocked it out of the park. At the end of Out of the Shadows, the Shredder is betrayed and then frozen by Krang because he's a loyalty type of guy. Personally, I think the Shredder is way cooler than Krang. So what are the chances we see Shredder return in the sequel to exact some sweet revenge?
That would be great. I actually do think that Shredder is way cooler than Krang anyway, and his betrayal was definitely one of those things where you have to be like, really? Really, dude?
Right.
You know, as he betrayed me and he froze me in time, people get unfrozen, I feel. So just saying that, there definitely will be a revenge of the Shredder, hopefully in a movie really, really soon. So we'll have to, I guess, just wait and see.
Well, talking about your Halloween costumes earlier, one of my favorite things about the Shredder is his costume, which by now is pretty iconic. So what were your initial impressions of getting out of the aluminum foil spikes and putting on the real costume for the first time?
You know, a funny tidbit is we probably took maybe a month to build that costume and probably like 17 to 18 refits because they build the costume around like the mold and shape of my body, but it's made out of, you know, leather and metal, and what we wanted to do is really, I think people have seen Shredder in the past as being like very metallic and almost sometimes animatronic, so we really wanted to humanize him and put the brains behind the brawn and kind of ground him in like the old school Oroku Saki kind of way. So I think we did that best with his outfit that we have in this Out of the Shadows movie. You know, it's that kind of stealthy, that dark, yet really hard, sinister, maybe samurai-esque ninjutsu, all of that things that kind of compile what Shredder is into like a very much more humanistic type of form. So that's what we did, and I think the suit in itself is amazing, especially the helmet piece. And it was one of those situations when you put it on, like you walk across the mirror and you have to take a double take a little bit for myself, you know, because I have to look at it and be like, holy, I'm freaking Shredder. Just saying. So yeah, it was one of those, again, just pinch me moments, especially when I got in the costume.
Right. Well, the spiked armor was awesome. I like the retractable claws you guys added to it as well.
Yeah.
But in real life, that looks like that would be pretty dangerous. So was there ever a point during filming where you accidentally scratched somebody, like Sheamus or something? Because I wouldn't want to cut Sheamus. He might bro kick you or something.
Totally. I mean, Sheamus is got to be one of the funniest, coolest bros to work with, and him playing Rocksteady was like a perfect match. Him both and Gary Anthony Williams to play Bebop. Those two guys on and off camera are exactly identical. Like they are Bebop and Rocksteady. So no, unfortunately, I never accidentally cut anybody with my claws. I think if Shredder were to ever cut anyone with his claws, it'd be kind of purposeful.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Well, this film actually brought a lot of those villains together. You talked about Bebop and Rocksteady, Baxter Stockman, Krang. Who was your favorite villain to make an appearance besides the Shredder?
Besides the Shredder, I mean, I think growing up as a kid, you never saw Bebop and Rocksteady. You never saw them in, like, I would say, you definitely saw them in the cartoons, but never in a live action movie. So I was really itching to see what they would do with it. You know, they're such an animated kind of character and a beloved character that I loved growing up. You know, they're like that funny yet dynamic duo of sorts. So I really love to see them come to life, and especially working on the film and working with Seamus and Gary Anthony Williams. It was one of those things where it was fun every day on set. We clowned around, and my hardest job was try to keep that Shredder stealth look, but on the inside, just laughing my ass off, you know, because of the antics they would have kind of on and off screen. It was great. It was amazing.
Well, despite the absurdity of the premise, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they've continued to be popular all of these years later. Why do you think they resonate so much with fans still today?
I think what's great about the Turtles is that each one of them has their own individualness that everyone can kind of relate to. Whether you like Michelangelo or Leonardo or Donatello or even Raphael, I think everyone across the board can relate to them. And because they're a team, they create this kind of family unit. And maybe even because they're a little bit different, people like those kind of underdog approaches to heroes. That being said, it's amazing that, you know, I have a little daughter now that will probably grow up loving the Turtles as well. But, you know, I have friends with like 5-year olds. So it's the one, I feel, comic book superhero, whether it's within the cartoon or the movies, that kind of transcend generations. So, like, grown-ups can enjoy the Turtles just as much as their kids do. And there's really no, like, effort in, like, saying, okay, I'm going to go watch that movie because my kid watches that movie. No, I'm actually going to go watch that movie because I enjoy watching that movie. You know, so it's one of those great things, and that's why I think the Turtles have kind of stand the test of time.
No, I agree with you. That's a great answer. Okay, I'm going to dip into some non-Ninja Turtle questions for a second, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Here's a little warm-up question. You played Noburo in the Wolverine. Dallas in our office wants to know if you still own those red underwear.
I no longer wear those red underwear. The funny thing about that is basically there was like an underwear test. It was literally like there was like 6 or 7 pairs of like red underwear, but they had to be red. And then like there are different kinds of shapes and styles. Some a little too tight, some a little too long, some with like different kinds of lining and all this other stuff. So I'm happy with our red underwear choice. I think it's kind of fit and really really well done for Nobuto. But I no longer have them, unfortunately. Maybe they'll be archived somewhere and then sold on eBay sometime later.
Oh yeah, you they looked good on you. You pulled them off. You played Liu Kang on Mortal Kombat Legacy, which I actually just watched a few weeks ago with my son for the first time, and you were great in it. James Wan just confirmed last month they were preparing a Mortal Kombat film. So would you be interested in portraying Liu Kang in that film?
I mean, absolutely, man. I feel like what we did for the series was kind of turn Liu Kang kind of on its head. Everyone has this idea of Liu Kang, especially when I played the video game way back in the day. You know, it was kind of like, I guess not necessarily, almost a caricature of like the good superhero kung fu guy. And what I wanted to do was really bring kind of some weight to him. You know, definitely bring some character and some levity and all of the things that you want in an actual character to portray instead of this kind of caricature facade of something else. And that's what we did. You know, we made him darker and we made him much more passionate about the things that he was really really fighting for. And I'm imagining, because James is such an amazing creative and director, of course, that he's definitely going to take Liu Kang, if not the whole Mortal Kombat series, and also do some amazing things with it. I mean, it's got such a huge following, and I've been such a fan for such a long time that, you know, if I were asked to play Liu Kang or another character, I'd absolutely be up for the challenge.
Yeah, James Wan is amazing. But speaking of you playing other characters, there's kind of an in-office movement we've got here at Comicbook.com to get you to play Namor, the Submariner. Lucas brought up the idea to me the other day, actually, and I thought you'd be a great fit for the role. You've gone on record saying you'd love to play the Submariner if/when you get the part.
Yeah.
What would your preferred take on Namor be?
You know what's funny is my career, I've kind of played villains, guys with attitude, guys with chips on their shoulders. And reading the comic books and being a fan of Namor, I mean, that's kind of this guy's persona, even though he's a hero or quote unquote good guy. He's kind of a bit of an anti-hero with a bit of an edge, and I feel like I kind of fall in that line, especially with the things that I've done. So that's the kind of aspect that I would love to bring to Namor. He's not just like a good guy, you know. He's definitely got some faults of his own, but I think when it really boils down to doing the right thing, he will. And you know, it's Namor, it's Marvel, it's the first mutant, it's everything that you can kind of dream of as a kid and wanting to be or portray. And so I would absolutely be love and be honored to play him if the time does come around.
Well,
And I thank you guys for the movement.
You're already in great shape as is now. Do you think physically though you'd be like you're ready to play Namor, or do you think you'd want to call up like Hugh Jackman's personal trainer and just get you crazy shredded, no pun intended, for the role?
No, absolutely. I think if the Namor role came around, I would absolutely do my best to look as best as possible. Probably gain a couple pounds in weight, and yeah, definitely call Hugh Jackman, call Dwayne Johnson, give me their tips and see what we can come up with. I think physically, Namor has a particular stature that you have to embody, and I will definitely do my best to do so, for sure.
It's 5,000 calories. I think that's the
That's
limit there.
it, right?
Brian, this
Yeah,
has been so cool
you.
talking to you. Last question before we let you go. I flip-flop between Leo and Donnie, but who is your favorite Ninja Turtle?
I like Raphael. He's just got that edge, and you know, I feel like the characters that I've played in the past have a bit of an edge to themselves, and you know, there's something about him that he's got this hard exterior, but I think deep down inside he's got this huge heart, and that's what I kind of love about him. You know, he's the guy that you want. That once you break that hard exterior, you know, you're friends for life. You know, but if you ever double cross him, you don't want to be on his bad side.
On his bad side, like maybe the Shredder is. I got you. That's all for us, guys. Huge thanks again, Brian, for chatting with us today. It was so cool getting to Skype meet you.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here, man. Pleasure to meet you as well, Chris.
Thank you very much. You guys make sure you follow Brian on Twitter and Instagram at Brian_TEE. On Facebook, you can find him at Brian T. Page. After you go follow Brian, get out there and pick up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows on Blu-ray, available now. If you don't already follow us on all of our social media goodness, get to it. You can find us at Comic Book on Twitter or on Facebook. Just search Comicbook.com. You can even find us on Instagram at Comic Book Now. For Comicbook.com, I'm Chris Killian, and I'm signing off like Splinter. Go Ninja, go Ninja, go!